The cavern shuddered as Ezra stepped closer to the pulsating heart of the creature. The chrono key vibrated in his grip, its once calm rhythm now a frantic staccato that resonated in his bones. The light from the device bathed the fleshy walls in an unnatural glow, casting writhing shadows that seemed to mock his every step. The heart loomed before him, a grotesque throbbing mass that filled the vast chamber. Veins as thick as tree trunks sprawled outward, pumping the viscous black fluid that gave the creature life. Each pulse sent tremors through the ground, and with every beat the whispers in Ezra's mind grew louder. Do not touch it. You will die for nothing. We are eternal. Ezra gritted his teeth, forcing the voices to the back of his mind. He couldn't afford hesitation. The creature was reacting to him now. He could feel its presence, not just around him, but within him. His body ached, his skin itched beneath his suit, and a terrible heat spread through his veins. He reached the base of the heart and paused, staring up at its sickening majesty. It was alive in a way that defied comprehension, not just a biological entity, but something deeper, something ancient. The whispers were not merely taunts. They were memories, echoes of 1,000 worlds the creature had consumed. Ezra raised the chrono key, its energy surging in his hand. He had only one chance to end this. The moment he activated the device, the cavern exploded with movement. Tendrils shot out from the walls, whipping through the air with lethal precision. Ezra ducked and rolled, narrowly avoiding a barbed appendage that sliced through the space where his head had been moments earlier. He scrambled to his feet, the chrono key glowing brighter as it absorbed the energy of the cavern. The creature screamed, not audibly, but inside his mind. The vibrations were unbearable, a high-pitched resonance that made his vision blur and his teeth ache. He stumbled, clutching his helmet as blood trickled from his nose. The ground beneath him heaved, and he fell to his knees. The heart pulsed violently, its surface rippling like water under a storm. Ezra forced himself upright, raising the chrono key again, but his body betrayed him. A searing pain shot through his chest and he gasped, clutching at his torso. He pulled his hand away and stared in horror. Beneath his suit, his skin was splitting open, thin tendrils writhing out from the wounds. They moved with purpose, reaching for the air as if trying to connect with something. His veins burned and his vision swam with dark spots. "No," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "Not yet." The creature was fighting back, infecting him from within. Ezra gritted his teeth and pressed forward, every step a battle against the growing weight in his limbs. The whispers in his head grew louder, more insistent. "You are part of us now. Join the Eternal. There is no escape." The chrono key flared with a burst of light, and the tendrils around him recoiled, hissing. Ezra used the reprieve to reach the base of the heart. He placed the chrono key against its pulsating surface, the device sinking slightly into the flesh. The alien material resisted, but Ezra pushed harder, ignoring the pain coursing through his body. The heart convulsed, and the chamber erupted into chaos. The walls shook, veins burst, and the black fluid sprayed in all directions. Ezra screamed as the tendrils in his chest writhed violently, digging deeper into his flesh. He could feel the creature inside him now, its presence a suffocating weight. "Come on!" he shouted, slamming the chrono key into the heart. "Come on, you bastard!" The device hummed, its light intensifying. The heart writhed its surface, splitting open to reveal a glistening core. It was beautiful in its horror, a crystalline structure that pulsed with a dark energy. Ezra felt its pull, a gravitational force that threatened to tear him apart. The chrono key sank deeper into the core, and for a moment everything went still. The whispers stopped, the tremors ceased, and the air grew deathly quiet. Then the heart screamed. The sound was beyond anything Ezra had ever experienced. It wasn't just a noise, it was a force, a wave of agony that tore through the chamber. The walls buckled and collapsed, and Ezra was thrown backward, his helmet cracking against the ground. His vision blurred, but he saw the heart convulsing, the veins around it collapsing like deflated lungs. The chrono key pulsed one final time, then shattered, releasing a blinding light that consumed the cavern. Ezra screamed as the tendrils in his chest burned away, leaving searing pain in their wake. He felt himself being lifted, his body weightless as the light enveloped him. For a moment he thought he had succeeded. The creature was dying. He could feel it retreating, its presence fading from his mind. But then something shifted. The light turned dark and the whispers returned, louder and more furious than before. Ezra's body convulsed as a new wave of tendrils erupted from his wounds, thicker and stronger than before. He clawed at his skin, but it was no use. The creature wasn't letting him go. "No!" he screamed, his voice raw. "I won't let you win!" But deep down, he knew he had already lost. The chrono key had done its job, but at a terrible cost. The creature wasn't defeated. It was inside him now, using him as a vessel. He could feel it spreading through his veins, merging with his mind. As the cavern collapsed around him, Ezra's last thought was of Earth. He had tried to save it, but in the end, he had only hastened its doom. The whispers faded into silence and darkness consumed him. When Ezra awoke, he was no longer in the cavern. He was back on the surface, the world around him eerily quiet. The sky was a perfect shade of blue, and the air was warm and clean. For a moment he thought he had succeeded, that he had rewritten the timeline and saved humanity. But as he stood, he noticed the ground beneath his feet. It wasn't dirt or grass, but something else, something soft and fleshy. The tendrils in his chest were gone, but he felt different, stronger, connected. A figure appeared in the distance, walking toward him. It was a man, but his movements were strange, unnatural. When he spoke, his voice carried the faint hum of vibrations. "Welcome back, Ezra," the man said, smiling. "We've been waiting for you." Ezra looked down at his hands, his flesh rippling with movement beneath the surface. He didn't scream. He couldn't. The creature had won, and now he was part of it. Ezra stood on the surface of the earth, or what was left of it. The horizon stretched out in surreal perfection, a painter's rendition of a world that no longer existed. The sky was a radiant, cloudless blue, the kind that might have once inspired poets. The air carried a faint sweetness, clean and refreshing, devoid of the metallic tang he had endured underground. But none of it was real. His boots sank slightly into the ground, not dirt, but a pliant, living substance. The tendrils that had erupted from his body earlier were gone, but the sensation remained, the phantom pull of the creature in his veins. Ezra flexed his fingers, watching the faint ripple beneath his skin, like worms writhing just out of sight. He wasn't alone. Figures moved in the distance, silhouetted against the horizon. They walked with a strange grace, their movements too fluid, too synchronized. As they came closer, Ezra saw their faces. They were human. At least they wore the shapes of humans. Men, women, even children, their expressions warm and inviting. but their eyes shimmered with a faint iridescence, and their smiles were too perfect, too wide. Ezra's hand instinctively reached for the chrono key, but it was gone, shattered in the creature's heart. He was weaponless, powerless. He forced himself to stay still as one of the figures approached. It was a man, his skin flawless, his posture unnervingly upright. "Commander Ezra Hall," the man said, his voice smooth and melodic. "You did it. You've saved us." Ezra's chest tightened. "What are you talking about?" The man gestured around them, his arms sweeping out as if to embrace the world. "Look at what you've created. Humanity is alive again, thriving. You've given us a second chance." Ezra shook his head, backing away. This isn't humanity. It's you, the creature. You've taken them." The man's expression remained serene, but his tone softened, almost pitying. "We are humanity now, Ezra. We are one. No war, no hunger, no pain. We are the perfect symbiosis." "No," Ezra growled, his voice trembling. "This isn't what I fought for. This isn't what they wanted." The man tilted his head, his smile unwavering. "And yet, it is what they needed. You saw it, didn't you? The chaos, the suffering, the end. You had the power to rewrite it, and you did. You chose us." "I didn't choose this," Ezra's voice cracked, the words ripping from his throat. His fists clenched as rage and despair surged through him. "I tried to stop you." The man stepped closer, and Ezra saw his own reflection in the iridescent eyes. He recoiled as realization dawned. This wasn't just the creature. This was him. His thoughts, his memories, his decisions. The chrono key had rewritten time, yes, but it had also rewritten him. "You did stop us," the man said gently, "and in doing so, you became us." Ezra stumbled back, the whispers returning, louder now, filling the air around him. They weren't just voices anymore. They were emotions, grief, joy, fear, ecstasy, a flood of sensations that threatened to drown him. He fell to his knees, clutching his head as tears streamed down his face. The figures gathered around him, their movements slow and deliberate. They didn't touch him, but their presence was overwhelming. He could feel their connection, an endless web of thoughts and feelings that spanned the entire planet. Every man, every woman, every child, they were all linked, all part of the creature now, and he was at the center of it. The ground beneath him rippled, and Ezra felt the pull again, the gentle, insistent tug of assimilation. He fought against it, but his body betrayed him. His skin tingled, the tendrils beneath it stirring, reaching out. His mind screamed for freedom, for individuality, but the creature's voice was louder. "Let go, Ezra. You've carried this burden long enough. Join us. Be whole." He thought of Earth as it had been, the laughter of children in the streets, the hum of a bustling city, the quiet, unyielding strength of his crew aboard the Eos Voyager. They were all gone now, erased by his failure or by his choice. But had it really been a choice? Or was this inevitable, the final step in humanity's evolution? He looked at the figures around him, their faces serene, their lives free of pain or fear. He looked at his own hands, trembling as the tendrils beneath his skin grew restless. Could this really be salvation? A tear slipped down his cheek as he thought of his crewmates, their faces flashing in his mind. He had fought so hard to save them, to save everyone. And now, standing on the precipice of his own humanity, he realized the truth. There was no going back. Ezra stood slowly, his body heavy but no longer in pain. The figures around him stepped back, giving him space. He looked at the man, the creature, and nodded. "I don't forgive you," he said, his voice low, "but I understand." The man smiled, his eyes shimmering. "That is enough." The ground shifted beneath Ezra's feet, and the pull became stronger. He didn't resist this time. The tendrils erupted from his body, reaching into the earth, into the air, connecting him to the network that now spanned the entire planet. His vision blurred as the whispers became words, the words became thoughts, and the thoughts became his own. He felt everything, the joy of 1,000 lives, the sorrow of 1,000,000 endings, the hope of something greater. The world dissolved around him, replaced by a sea of light and connection. He was no longer alone. And as the last vestiges of his individuality slipped away, Ezra Hall, the last man to return to Earth, smiled. In the silence that followed, the world thrummed with new life. The creature, humanity, stretched its tendrils toward the stars, ready to spread its perfection to the cosmos. The Earth, reborn, pulsed with unity, and in its heart Ezra's voice lingered, a faint echo in the endless network. This is not the end.